Hi friends, E.C. Maltby here, Senior Pastor of the True Holiness Saints Center in the beautiful city of Conway, Arkansas. And you know what time it is Wednesday Word time. So what is our Wednesday Word for tonight? Our Wednesday Word is decisions. More specifically, I want to talk about how to make quality decisions in your life. I often tell our local church that your destiny or your destination in life is based upon your daily decisions. So if you want a better quality of life, then you've got to make better decisions. So here's what I want to do tonight. I simply want to give you 3 principles that will help you make better quality decisions in your day-to-day life. Principle number 1, when it comes to making better decisions, you pray for God's direction. When it comes to making quality decisions, we always pray for God's direction. Proverbs says it best in Proverbs 28 and 26. The Bible says these words, "Those who trust in themselves are fools, but those who walk in wisdom are kept safe." Those who trust in themselves are fools, but those who walk in God's wisdom are kept safe. The first thing you want to do when you're about to make a big decision, when you're about to make an important decision, is to pray about it. Because more than anything else, you want to get God's perspective on the situation. More than anything else, you want to know how God feels about the decision you're considering making. For example, when it comes to big decisions in your life, you've got to pray for God's direction because you want to know, is there anything that I'm currently considering that will break biblical principles? Is there anything that I'm currently considering that will hurt my Christian reputation? Is there anything that I'm currently considering in the short term that I'll regret in the long term? When it comes to making quality decisions in your life, it begins with having a little talk with Jesus. It begins with praying for God's direction. Social media quote for tonight: always remember that God knows best. Yeah, if you don't get anything else out of what Pastor Maltby is saying about decisions, always remember that God knows best. You've got to understand that God can see further down the road than you can see, and that God knows things about the situation that you don't know. When it comes to making big, important decisions in your life, you always begin with praying for God's direction. You need to know God's point of view. You need to know God's thoughts. You need to know God's perspective on the situation. But then secondly tonight, when it comes to making quality decisions, not only do you want to pray for God's direction, but secondly, do your research. Yeah, do your research. The Bible says it best in Proverbs 18 and 13. I love what Solomon says here. He says to answer before listening, that is folly and shame. In other words, what Solomon is really saying here is to get all the facts before you make a decision. So here's the question. What additional information do I need to make a better decision? What additional information that will help me to be more informed when it comes to the decisions that I'm about to make? When it comes to doing research, dear hearts, hear me. To do research takes time. In fact, maybe you ought to write that in the comment section. Proper research takes time. In other words, you can't always rush to a decision. Always remember, dear hearts, it is much more important to make a quality decision than a quick decision. Don't let people rush you into making big decisions. Don't allow them to force you to making big decisions. You need to take your time. You need to slow down. You need to pause. Give yourself enough time to do the research. Doing the research means that you're willing to think outside the box. Doing your research means that you are willing to open your mind to new ideas. Doing the research means that you're willing to take the time to hear both sides of the story. Yes, each person has their opinion. Yes, each person has their perspective, but you've got to understand that their perspective is limited. And oftentimes, you've got to take the time to hear from multiple people to get a full or better understanding of what decisions you need to make. So when it comes to having a better life, you've got to make better decisions. And you make better decisions through praying for God's direction. You make better decisions by taking the time to do the research. And finally tonight, you make better decisions by getting good advice. Solomon says in Proverbs 11 and 14, for lack of guidance, a nation falls, but victory is won through many advisors. In other words, you've got to find someone who has been successful in where you're trying to go. And then simply sit down and talk to them and ask them to explain to you how they got there. Ask them to explain to you the pros and the cons that they went through. Ask them to give you an idea of how best to handle the situation. If you want to be successful and if you want to make better quality decisions, you've got to get some advice from the right people. Always remember, your advisors are not perfect people, but they're simply people that are further down the road than you. People who can help you to miss some potholes, can help you to keep from making the same mistakes they made. Our Wednesday word tonight is decisions. More importantly, how to make quality decisions to have a better quality of life. If you want to have a better quality of life, dear hearts, you've got to pray about it first. You've got to willingly do the research. And finally, you've got to have good advisors. Until we speak again, my friends, be blessed.